Canada's money coach Judith Kane took the week off last week.
I did.
Just how taxing was that quilting convention you were at?
Well, there were about 60 women who all got together to do some quilting. And it was a really interesting weekend. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs, some quilting done. Met some people that I'd never met before, which was really neat, from all over the Maritimes. There were people who drove quite a distance all the way from Cape. We were down in a place called Cornwallis, Nova Scotia, which, for those people who don't know the military, that was where basic training happened before everybody went to Zégen in Quebec.
Okay.
So people were sent to Cornwallis to train, and it was decommissioned probably in the 90s when a lot of them were decommissioned.
Sure.
And it was sold for like $1 or something to the area, to the region. And the region is run it as a conference center. So it is a beautiful place to visit because it's right on the Bay of Fundy. It's beautiful. It's between Annapolis Royal, which we know, or maybe you don't, is the oldest town, I think, or city or something, town in Canada, and Digby, which is famous for its clams and scallops.
Yeah.
So Cornwallis is in between. It's right on the water, and it's just beautiful. Just beautiful.
I will be home in the Maritimes soon enough. Driving my leased vehicle. Now, that's kind of what you want to touch on today, leasing versus buying a vehicle. Let's go through that.
So instead of buying a car, welcome to the Maritimes. We are going to talk about...
For those listening, she's playing with stained glass fish.
Swimming across the ocean, yes. I just love it here in the Maritimes. I'm from Alberta. We are totally landlocked in Alberta, right?
Uh-huh.
And I don't know why I love the water so much, maybe because we weren't around it. But anyway, leasing versus buying a car. How many people have leased their cars? Put their hand up. How many people have bought their cars? Put their hand up. I've done both.
I've done both depending on my situation.
Oftentimes people lease a car because you don't need anything down to lease a car. You can just walk in and lease it. Oftentimes the monthly payments are less because you're not paying for the whole vehicle. You're just paying rent.
Yep.
So it's, if you are, have a low income but you need a vehicle, then leasing sometimes is the way to go. Sometimes you can get a second lease or a third lease on a car. So it's been a leased vehicle and they just have, it's a second lease. Like it's the next time that the lease has been on.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes you can do that. Sometimes you can actually buy a car that's been on a lease and, definitely have a mechanic check it out, but buying that is less expensive than buying a new vehicle. So it's a used vehicle. But leasing a vehicle, the major problem with leasing a vehicle is you don't have any asset. You have no asset. Exactly. And you also have to watch your mileage. So if you drive a lot, then leased vehicle is not for you. So if all you're doing is kind of city driving, or, maybe the odd trip out to the country somewhere, then a leased vehicle might make sense for you. You can also deduct, if you have a business, you can deduct the leased vehicle, part of it, some of it, all of it, from your business expenses or from your business income. But at the end of the lease, you have to give it back, and it has to be back in the same condition it was when you left it. So that means that you have to still maintain it. You have to, if you've had it for 4 years, because sometimes leases last for 4 years, and, you had regular tires on it, sometimes you do have to replace the tires. So be careful of things like that. You need to maintain the maintenance on it. So that means following the schedule that's in the manual.
Right.
When you buy a car, it's yours. No one cares what you do with it, but really you should take care of it. But no one cares what you do with it. It is yours. So you could, buy a brand new vehicle, or you can buy a used vehicle. Now, used vehicles, as we know, are getting harder and harder to come by. And the price of used vehicles has gone up. However, it is still, if you can find a vehicle that's 2 or 3 years old and doesn't have a high mileage, driven once a week to go to church, the old saying, then that's more economical than buying a new vehicle, especially if you think you're going to drive this vehicle for a long time.
If you're running a business, though, when you look at buying versus leasing, both can be advantageous on your taxes, right? Like a lease is an obvious, I'm writing this off as a business expense.
Correct.
It's the promotions vehicle. It's how I get from point A to point B. Like if I'm a real estate agent or something like that, obviously, 90% of what I'm doing in my vehicle is showing homes, etc. But if you choose to buy the car, can you not on your taxes work it as a capital gains asset?
No, no.
Really?
Well, first of all, a car depreciates about 25% the minute you drive it off the lot.
Yes.
So you can't write an actual car off on your business unless you've bought it for the business. So if you're incorporated and you have a business and you can
Okay.
buy a vehicle for the business. But remember, when Revenue Canada comes calling, if you don't have another vehicle, they're going to say to you, well, how do you go to the movies, or how do you go out for dinner? What do you drive? And if you haven't claimed any of that personal use of that vehicle, you could run into trouble with CRA. So
Got
you
it.
have to be careful. If you're not incorporated, you can buy a car for your business, but you have to be pretty clear that all the mileage is used for the business. So if
Okay.
you've had the vehicle wrapped, and that's not proof that you use the whole thing for business. You really have to track your mileage. If you've bought a vehicle specifically for your business, then you have to track your mileage and say this is strictly for business. Now, if you have a personal car that you use, it makes it much easier because you say, I'm using this just for business, and I use my personal car for personal business. If Revenue Canada really wants to get nasty, they will look at your mileage and say, well, you had 4 jobs this year. Let's say you're in construction and you bought a truck. You had 4 jobs this year, and yet you've written off the whole $90,000 truck, or the use of the 90,000, all the gas, all the insurance, et cetera, et cetera. They, trust me, Revenue Canada, if they want to go after, will go after you. So I think it makes sense to just use what you use, declare it on your taxes, and keep Revenue Canada happy. So if you want to lease, it's a great option if you don't have a lot of money. It's a great option because you can lease it, especially if you're not driving a lot. You stay within your kilometers and then give it back when it's over, when you might be in a better financial position, or you can buy the vehicle out.
Well, that's it. At the end of the lease, if you know you don't have a lemon and you've kept your mileage fairly low and the vehicle is in good condition, which is my situation, I leased my vehicle. Thinking I was still going to be driving to and from downtown, etc. And I was the original lease. They offered me 20,000 kilometers. And I said, you know what? I typically put about 22, 23. So I'm right on that line. What would it cost me to change the lease terms to 25,000 kilometers? And so I pay a little extra for that. And lo and
Right.
behold, of course, I'm not driving to and from downtown. The vehicle basically sits in my driveway. I've had it for 4 years on a 5-year lease. It has 37,000 kilometers on it. Guess what? I
Yeah,
can't wait to buy this out because I know that I can, even if I don't want to hang on to it myself, I know I can sell it for more if
exactly.
I buy it
And
out.
I've got quite a few clients who that's happened to. They've been
Sure.
on a lease, and now the lease is out, and the buyout on the lease is $15,000 or $16,000. But if they were to go to replace that car, even a car that is 4 years old, they would pay much more for that vehicle.
Absolutely.
And I had a client who did that with the truck, didn't need it anymore. So he paid off the truck, bought it out, and he made about, I don't know, $10,000 on his truck, because trucks are really desired. The resale on trucks is very good if you're
I
going to
know.
get a truck. Yeah.
I just went through
Yeah,
that with the dealer and they didn't want to play nice with me. So I'm hanging on to my truck and I'll sell it my darn self. So there
exactly.
you go.
Exactly.
Judith Kane, Canada's money coach online. No, your website, you prefer email, don't you?
You know what, John? I'm not taking any more clients because I'm kind of coasting towards
Right.
that
We had the brief.
retirement.
You kind of you said that to me the last time we talked, and here I'm just out of habit going. Oh yeah, go to our website. You're available by email. Let's go with
You
that.
can send me an email at
Fine.
judith@judithkane.com. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm also happy to make some referrals. If people are looking for someone to help, then I'm happy to make referrals.
Amazing.